the official Lost podcast, hosted by ABC.com. Well, it's a momentous day for Lost. The finale has aired, and the summer is upon us, which means lots of questions, and lots of time to ponder those questions. Luckily, the executive producers didn't want everyone going off into the sunset without having some of those questions at least clarified, such as, was that Matthew Fox in that cold tundra-like bunker, or wherever it was? Here now are executive producers Damon Lindelof and Carlton Hughes.
Well, hi, Damon.
Hi there, Carlton.
Well, this is it, isn't it? It's our final podcast.
Ever.
I hope not, really, because this is too much fun.
I'm gonna miss these quiet afternoons. And
oh, don't get sentimental now. Are you crying? Are you crying now? Oh my God!
Am crying.
This is unbelievable. We haven't even started yet, and you're already crying.
Well, you know,
like a baby.
It's. And at least it explains why I'm wearing diapers. Wait, what?
Well, I know. I mean,
that's another issue entirely.
That is another issue. It's been a long season, apparently, but you know, there are things that can be done for that problem.
So this is a very special podcast that is sort of a, you know, an after the fact, a Monday morning quarterbacking, if you will, about the finale, which aired at last night as we were recording this podcast. So we're only beginning to just sort of get, you know, the fan reaction to the finale, which is great for us because, you know, we have been in a real bubble for the last month, literally.
Damon has literally been in one of those plastic bubbles, like the Bubble Boy thing,
which explains the diaper because that way you cannot.
It's very clean.
Cannot just unzip the bubble.
That's right.
In any case, though, the reality is we started writing the finale just about a month ago, just about 4.5 weeks ago. And we wrote it in conjunction with our amazing writing staff. Very, very quickly it had to be written in order to produce the 2 hours, in order to give everybody in Hawaii the amount of time they needed to actually shoot it. It was actually shot in probably about 17 days
with two crews simultaneously
at the same time, and then
that's what simultaneously means.
It is. Wow, I never realized that.
Then we had 4 editors working on it also simultaneously.
Can 3 things be happening simultaneously?
They can.
Isn't that trimultaneously?
Well, trimultaneously, quadrataneously, all 4 editors were cutting the finale. Very sound crews. It was totally insane. We didn't really basically...
we locked the picture in about 5 days, and then we had to go do special effects. And by we, I mean someone else.
Yeah, well, we supervised them.
Yeah, it feels at this point, throwing out names, you're definitely we're going to forget someone. But the reality is there was a huge effort made on the part of over 300 people in an effort to essentially provide the finale that you watched last night in about 3.5 weeks from the writing of it. It was so weird last night watching the Hala. That final moment when Penny Widmore picks up the phone and we looked at each other and said, wow, we shot that 5 days ago.
Yeah, I mean, it was so weird. There was no time between when we finished the show and when it aired. It was completely unlike any other experience we've ever had on this show. And, you know, I can't think of a show where I've seen something get put together as quickly as we did on this finale.
Right, and it was a 2-hour movie, and when you think about sort of the gags that we did, you know, having those helicopter shots with the boat out there and the foot with the toes and the magnetism sequence and the lockdown and you know Desmond walking out of the prison, like it actually felt, you know, watching it, wow, it's pretty big. They acquitted themselves very nicely in Hawaii. It looks good. So
exactly. So, Damon, you want to talk about having Clancy Brown back on the show?
I would like to talk about that. Clancy is an actor that we have loved for a very, very long time, and obviously we introduced him in One of Them, another episode that Carlton and I wrote earlier this year, the episode where Henry Gale first shows up, and we show how Saeed became a torturer, and this man, Inman, although his name is never spoken in the show, we named him Joe Inman because we knew that if we had called him Kelvin Inman, because in TV Guide they list the names of characters even if you don't name them, which is how people know Mr. Friendly's name was
Right.
Mr. Friendly because we just call him that in the script. But because if we had named him Kelvin Inman, the audience immediately would have been spoiled for them.
Right.
They would have known that this guy was going to be the same Kelvin that Desmond referred to.
Well, his name is actually Kelvin Joe Inman.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Hold on, I have to go to the bathroom. And I'm done. Moving on.
All right.
The four-toed statue, Carlton, let's talk about that. Is this something that you think that people should keep a careful eye on? Is there big significance there? Or
No.
is it just another one of
It's
those things that's going to go
It
nowhere?
means nothing. It's just,
just thought
why
it'd
do
be
they
cool.
why do they even bother to point it out? I mean, it's sort of, my God, the woman is getting sick. She has to come back and look at this freaking statue. Who cares, really, frankly?
Roughly how big, how big do you think just the foot is?
I think the foot is probably, if I were to be a betting man, I would say that foot is probably 35 to 40 feet tall. So proportionally, we're talking a pretty dang big statue.
Carlton, I will bet you $1 that foot is 60 feet tall. Because
Really?
you just said you were, if you were a betting
If I was
man.
a betting man? Well, I'm not a betting man, so
All
I
right.
can't.
Well,
that'd
that'd be my guess.
So if it's 60 feet tall, extrapolating that out simultaneously, how far would that make? How high would that make that statue?
Simultaneously? I don't know. It depends on whether or not they're big-footed people.
Yeah, I
That's
mean they
the
could be very
Yeah.
long in the leg and short in torso.
They could have very small heads.
or
for
maybe
example.
it's actually got man's feet and a dog body.
That's interesting.
I mean, who's to say it's
It
actually
does have
a
four
man?
toes, and that's
Four
sort of
toes.
creepy. In all,
Homer Simpson has 4 toes.
that's true, and 4 fingers.
It could be maybe they worship at the cult of Homer Simpson.
I think that would be a very interesting reveal, and people would probably throw things at us if we were to reveal that. But in all honesty, the foot is something that we've been planning for a while, and is actually a lot of fun because we talk about this idea that the show is a big archaeological dig, and this was our way of sort of telling you guys, the audience, that we've been excavating the Dharma Initiative this season in season 2, but it's time to begin the next excavation going into season 3. And as we learn more about the others, we will begin to fundamentally find out that the Dharma. We know this about the Dharma Initiative: they haven't been here that long. I mean, the Dharma Initiative came in the late '70s. At least that's when the orientation film is dated. So who was here before they came?
Well, what we can tell you now definitively is that season 3 will be in the post-Hellenic era, and everyone will be wearing togas. And it will be actually really a bold move. It'll sort of a cross between Rome and the lost that you
You
used
should
to
really
know.
tell me these things before we start the podcast, because I get caught with my pants down, literally.
Well, you don't have any pants on,
I know,
so
exactly.
what does it really matter?
I set myself up for that one.
No, but the archaeology as a concept for the show is a very important one, and obviously that statue and who built it and those
where the rest of it is.
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing to want to know, and how those people figured into the history of the island of Lost is going to be cool to find out at some point.
Awesome. Can we talk about the Hala a little bit?
Yeah, let's talk about the Hala. First of all, explain to me, Damon, why is it called the Hala?
Well, every year we try to do a top secret scene that nobody knows about, except for the sort of, the people who need to shoot it. And last year it was the bagel, and that was Walt's abduction. And this year it was the Hala, and the Hala comprised of 2 scenes this year. The first part being our 2 friends in the Arctic state. Well, we don't know if it's the Arctic, but they're Portuguese guys.
Right.
We don't know where they are, but wherever they are, it's very cold. People have been telling us.
Or they could be
Arctic,
Brazilians
Antarctica.
speaking Portuguese, couldn't they?
They could be,
Yeah.
because that is the language of Brazil.
Yes, it is.
But they are speaking Portuguese, and that was one part of the Hala. And then the second part was the other side of it, which is the phone ringing in the bedroom and revealing Penny Widmore. And obviously, this is a much different big ending than it was last year, because Walt getting abducted.
I got to get that phone. There might be another magnetic anomaly detected.
Okay.
Sorry.
Mr. Hughes, we found it. your
I think
shoes.
those are actually the keys to my
Yeah.
Prius,
Yeah,
which I
exactly.
could not find this morning.
But basically, this year the Hala is not as defined as last year's. It was Walt gets taken, you know what it is.
Yeah.
This year it's sort of like, I think people's heads are scrambling a little bit to kind of go, what exactly did I just see? Did I just leave the island for the first time? Here's this woman that I know has got this romantic connection with Desmond, and
Well, I think you did just leave the island for the first time in 49 hours.
I think we did, other than in flashback.
Right.
But the reality is, you have no context for it. Has she been looking for it? How has she been looking for it? How long has she been looking for it? All this stuff is hopefully we're hoping that the fans are talking about over the course of the summer. But we really just wanted to do, on an emotional level, a love story, and we thought it would be really cool that ultimately Desmond, in the triggering of the failsafe device, and we will, in Season 3, begin to understand the real ramifications of what the white sky and all that stuff was, that it was that action that made the island visible to the woman who was looking for him.
Right.
And hopefully that came across.
Just for a brief moment, though.
Right, exactly.
During the time that the sound vibration was occurring, that the electromagnetic anomaly allowed the island to become visible for that brief moment.
And those dudes refer to the fact that, hey, we're going to miss it again. So the assumption might be, if I were a betting man,
right,
that
you are a betting
that
man.
when they missed it, that
so
was...
give me $10.
I will. As soon as
you don't have any place for your wallet.
Yeah, I do have a place for my wallet, and that's why you don't want the $10.
That's true.
But
forget the $10. Yeah. Maybe for $100, I'd go for it.
How can we even talk about electromagnetic anomalies now? I mean, we've completely.
I hope it's a waterproof wallet.
It is, but
you've lost your train of thought.
Yeah, I was basically saying
you don't even know what you're talking about.
One might intuit that there was another time that the island was briefly visible, and that just might have been September 22nd, 2004, when the last system failure occurred.
I'd pay off that bet.
If you were a betting man.
Well, what's interesting is that I think there was actually a certain amount of confusion about the Bagel last year. People thought they were pirates, they weren't sure they were the others, and I think that a little clarification from us and a little discussion among the fans led people to the conclusion that rightfully Walt had been taken by the others, and hopefully a few of the things we've said will clarify a few of your questions about.
But we don't want to clarify it too much, because obviously, as is always on Lost, what you think you are looking at might not be exactly what you are looking at, and we have some.
Well, clarifying it a lot would be like, who the heck are these Portuguese guys, and why are they in some sort of Arctic or Antarctic shed?
And is one of them played by Matthew Fox?
No.
That is not.
That is not true.
It is.
I mean,
and we're not.
First of all,
cutesy.
Matthew Fox doesn't speak Portuguese, but that is cutesy. But it isn't Matthew Fox.
He speaks Brazilian Portuguese, but not Portugal Portuguese.
Yeah, well,
I just want to be clear on that.
Okay.
One other thing that we should talk about before we get to your questions, guys, is the way that Lost is going to run next year, and this is very exciting for Carlton and I, because we've been lobbying the network and the studio all season long to abolish reruns. We hate them, believe it or not, and we've talked about it on the podcast many times, just as much as you guys do. And fortunately for us, sort of Steve McPherson, who runs ABC, and Jeff Bader, who is head of scheduling over there, really gotten behind this idea that the show runs best in blocks and uninterrupted by reruns. And when it's on, and when it's not on, it's not on. So as a result of all of our hard work and the network and the studio's hard work, next year we will be premiering at the very end of September, like we normally do. We're going to run 6 episodes through the beginning of November.
Have an awesome
There will be like a mini cliffhanger at the end of that 6th episode, and then we're going to be off the air for about 12 weeks until February.
And when we come back in the spring, the show will be on straight through, no repeats. Again, when Lost is on, it's on, and we couldn't be happier.
17 straight episodes with no interruptions.
Right.
And although you're going to have to wait, and we feel this is a good compromise, because the other side of it would have been you had to wait all the way until January to get another episode of Lost. We feel by giving you the taste, the mini season, the 6 episodes, will hopefully be helpful.
Yeah, that would be too long.
It's definitely too long for me, and that way we can do podcasts again.
Oh, exactly. Well, we can do them anyway.
Why are you trying to climb into my bubble right now, Carlton? Please, get out.
By the way, we are going to be at Comic-Con in San Diego in July, and we'll be having a panel there with some of the actors, and Damon and me will be Damon and I, whatever it is. We'll be on the show. We'll be there. We'll be at Comic-Con,
and we will say this. We will tease this. If you are following the Lost experience or are a fan of it and all this stuff that's right now going on with the Hansel Foundation, who is apparently very, very upset with us, you might want to come to Comic-Con, because we are going to be making an official announcement about our feelings about the Hansa Foundation and their meddling in our show and their attempts to sort of legally injunct us from using them.
Did you see that guy
Hugh
McIntyre on
yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel last night?
I haven't seen it, but I heard about it.
He said he doesn't watch the show. He thinks it's too confusing. He said he tried watching it once, but felt it was too confusing.
Well, obviously...
Well, you know what? The Hansa Foundation is too confusing. Take that, Hugh. Take that to the bank.
Wow, harsh words from Carlton. Take that to the bank.
I'm not happy about Hugh.
How is that an insult? Take that to the bank. Is that going to upset him? Oh, go make a time deposit. Oh dear.
Exactly.
Open up an IRA. Take that. I hope your interest rate is unfashionably
very
low.
Very high.
All right, time for questions.
Okay, time for your questions. Cue the question music, Chris. Okay.
Huzzah!
Huzzah.
Wonderful as always.
All right, Damon, in the May 19th podcast, you revealed that in the question
Who's asking
mark
this
episode,
question?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Oz Spade.
Okay.
And the title of this question is Damie's Clammy Cold Hands.
Oh, Nellie Olson. Here we go.
The hands turning on the lights are Damon's instead of Locke's. Looking at that shot again, I can't help but notice how great Damon's hands look. They are in very fine shape and look so pristine and smooth. My question is, what kind of hand care lotion does Damon use? Any specific type of lotion that can be recommended? And has Damon ever thought of becoming a hand model?
Well, I'll start with that. That was a multi-tiered question, and I'll start with the last part, and the answer is no. I have never thought about becoming a hand model, and thank you.
That is so untrue.
I know.
Like when we couldn't come up with an idea for episode 214, you were like, "I'm just screw it. I'm going to become a hand model.
I'm going to fulfill my dream of becoming a hand model."
Products.
The reality
you use
is
a hair exfoliator, don't you?
Well, I dip it in paraffin wax, and I allow that
You
wax
peel
to
it
sort
off.
of crystallize around it. And
You like that pain, don't
I
you?
try not to touch anything ever, pretty
Yeah.
much. And by not touching anything, I'm able to give my hands a youthful, clean and smooth appearance.
I think there's a little kind of weird sort of contradiction in this question, though, because it says Damon's clammy cold hands, and yet here it says they're in fine shape and look pristine or smooth. So I'm not sure whether they really like your hands. Which part is facetious?
I think you might have referred to in a prior podcast as that my hands were cold and clammy.
Oh, I see. So it's
this person is taking issue with your
issue with me.
categorization.
Well, sorry, spoken from a man in a diaper.
And you can take that to the bank. All
You're
right,
up.
Carlton, I have a question for you. Monster ? By Crazy Misfit.
Oh, good.
First off, I
Hit
want to
me.
say I love your podcast. It makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. I have a question that's been bugging me for a while now. Is it just me, or did you guys dismiss the monster as no big deal? Is there a reason that the Losties are no longer afraid of it anymore? That's a good sentence. You guys kind of were like, oh, smoke, hacks, forget all about it. Okay, thanks for your time.
Well, okay. It is true. Who really cares about the monster anymore?
I care.
Now, the monster...
Is it going to be Carlton? Is it going to be back in season 3?
The monster will definitely be back in season 3. You know, it's just it's hard to get around to doing stories that involve everything on the island all the time, and we did not. We have actually a couple of other good stories involving the monster. We just haven't. We didn't get to them in season 2 the way everything was playing out. But
I would actually dangle this out there, Carlton, and this might be
Dangle it.
a fairly controversial statement, but it would be accurate. There's a good chance that you guys saw the monster this year, but just didn't realize you were looking at the monster.
oh, that is true. That's good. That's a pretty big one.
By the end of next year, you will
understand
realize
what that means.
You will
You'll
understand what
understand.
that means, but
You will be able to take that to the bank.
you can. Since you're not confused enough already, you can take
Oh
that
my
to
God.
the bank.
Exactly. Do you think people need any more like cryptic, crypto talk?
I sure do.
Okay.
If they're listening to this, they do.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, Damon, here's let's just jump to a few things here. Hope you slept well last night. You sure earned it. Says Ibazark. Good morning, lads. Now the season is over, can you really give us a little deconstructionist peek into how you and the writers got to this point? What really interests me is how much did you know when you wrote the first season pilot? How much did you know going into season 2? How much did you figure out as you wrote through season? How much do you know now, and how much will you know in the future? I added those last parts. All right, let's just get on. When did you know what was in the hatch?
our rule.
There's a bunch of these questions, so you can just you don't have to be long-winded about them.
Okay, well,
Okay, please just give me a
Yikes.
quick answer.
We again, the fundamental rule on Lost is we don't introduce anything until we know how it resolves. So once you saw the hatch, we knew what was in it. So I think Boone and Locke found it at the end of episode 9 in season 1, which was actually the 11th hour of the show. That was All the Best Cowboys Have Daddy Issues, so that was around when we knew what was inside.
Well, actually, all the questions are on the same axis, so
then
they're
the
basically the
answer's
answer is
the
the same to all of them.
Phew.
All right. Okay.
It's my turn because
All right,
you just wasted a valuable
I
question.
know that
right
was
there.
that wasn't as good as I'd hoped. Sorry.
Producer question: why didn't Hurley attack Michael? This is a serious one, and I think we should probably talk about it. By Egotown. Why didn't Hurley attack Michael, or at least show signs of anger when Michael admitted that he murdered Libby? Is he really that much of a coward? Thanks. Love the podcasts.
I think that's kind of a legitimate question. I mean, I think that there obviously were a lot of very kind of strong and deep conflicted emotions that all those characters had when it was revealed that Michael was a traitor and responsible for murdering Libby and Ana Lucia. But at that juncture in the storytelling, I think that there really wasn't. We sort of felt as writers that they didn't really have much choice. That basically when Jack presented the alternative, going back, basically was a more doomed scenario in his mind than actually continuing with the trek. And we felt that was enough. Maybe we should have spent a little more time dealing with the character's reaction to it. But that was the sort of, given the choices, it felt like the character's best choice was to go forward at that point, and that the emotional reaction on a deeper level to what Michael did had to be deferred.
And also, the reality is we, watching the finale, we agree. That is a legitimate point, and sometimes, character motivation becomes a casualty of the process, especially in a rush job like the finale, which is not to say we don't plan out things in advance, but that's the first thing that sort of becomes a victim of circumstance. And the reality is, as I recall, there were versions of scenes, and a much longer version of that scene, even at script, where we dealt with precisely that issue. In fact, Sawyer also wanted to turn around and say, at this point, it's stupid, forget about it. But in the show, you look, and the end of the scene is Sawyer says, what plan? And then, for Jack to explain, Saeed's going around the island and doing this, that, and the other thing. We were like, the audience kind of already knows that. And unfortunately, we lost that whole page of, them saying, well, screw this. Michael's a murderer. We don't want to have anything to do with, and then we needed them to continue anyway. So it was a casualty of war, as it were. And this is a case where Carlton and I will literally come forward and say, we wish we had done it a little differently.
Right.
The characters sort of deserve the opportunity to explain their motivations better, and we wish we had done it.
Yeah. Okay. So now bend over so I can spank you.
Whoa! I better take off my diaper so I can go to the bank.
So this is a good kind of question to sum up the where we are right now. Mm-hmm. This is from Booyah 319.
Oh yeah.
If season 1 was about trying to get off the island, ... or ellipse, as it were. If season 1 was about trying to get off the island, and season 2 was about building more of a society with rules, what will season 3 be about? Or, in other words, season 1 was trying to get into the hatch, season 2 was about being in the hatch, and now that that's destroyed, imploded, as it were, what will season 3 be about? Presumably what Desmond did will prevent incidents happening every 108 minutes since there's no computer to input the numbers anymore, right? So that feels like there's some ground there for you to...
Yeah, that's a really good... The reality is we think it's really cool that people don't know exactly what season 3 is going to be about, but they do know roughly where it's going to start. And a big part of season 3 is going to be about why the others took Jack, Kate, and Sawyer. This is sort of a big fundamental mystery. Why were their names on that list? Hurley's name was obviously on the list because the others, for some reason, felt he would be the best person to deliver the message of the fact that his friends are now in captivity. And when Henry says they're coming home with us, where is home? What does he mean by home? And that's something that you're going to find out fairly quickly right out of the gate at the beginning of season 3. But the mystery of why Jack, Kate, and Sawyer is fundamentally the story we're going to be telling over that batch of the first 6 episodes in the 3rd season.
And while they will present sort of an external threat, I think that it's also fair to say season 3 will be a lot about our main characters, about their relationships, about getting deeper into the interrelationships between the core characters that you know and love, and that is something which I think we've now earned,
Totally.
particularly on a romantic level, and we are, I think that we sort of feel like we want to service the relationships even more than the mythology next year, and the mythology won't go away; it'll always be a part of the show, but. We are really going to dig into our character relationships.
No, absolutely. And, although that remains the core of the show, and we've got a lot of awesome flashback stories to kind of go deeper, we're going to find out, in season 3, sort of the big burning mysteries finally, like Locke and how he got in the wheelchair and, how Jack got his tattoos. Those are stories we're going to be telling in the third year of the show, finally.
Kate's marriage.
And thanks for being patient for all that stuff. But also, our finales also function a lot. Finale is almost the wrong word for them because in many ways they're usually sort of half pilot for the season that comes next. So it's like there's a lot of setup. So the idea that when Desmond turned that key and we heard that noise and there was this island-wide event where the sky went white, that was really set up for a lot of the stuff we're doing in season 3 and becomes sort of the new central mystery, which is exactly what did happen. Because
Right.
the simple answer would be he blew up the hatch.
Or that he blew himself up, but obviously, if you see
I really
Penny...
hope
there-
Desmond's coming back.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, it would be really, really bad if Desmond was dead.
I would be bummed because after I really invested in him and for 2 hours there I have no idea why he went to military prison.
And Ian Cusack did an incredible job.
He is an awesome actor. Just to think here's a guy who was essentially a guest star in one episode of the show prior to this, and then suddenly we have to hang the entire season finale on his back. The analogy we use is you've been the backup quarterback on the bench for the entire season, and then the quarterback gets hurt right before the Super Bowl, and you start and win. So in our opinion, he did.
He did such a good job. He's actually gone to Disneyland today.
Oh, really? I'm so gullible.
No,
I have one
kinda
final
gullible.
question for you, Carlton, and I think you're going to love this one.
Of course, if you're wearing a diaper, gullibility isn't really much of an issue, is it?
It sure isn't.
Go ahead.
Damon and Carlton by Casino Skunk. Now, I guess you are a betting man. I've been listening to your podcast for some time now, and I get the impression that you guys don't really feel like doing it. You guys sound like you are forced to do this by ABC. When it comes to the fan questions portion of the show, you seem to come off as very sarcastic about how much you enjoy answering them. Maybe you two are just having fun with each other, but I feel that it comes off as insincere. I love what you guys do with the show Lost. I just hope that your podcast stop feeling so forced. By the way, my name is Ralph, so please don't make fun of my screen name. Thanks.
Ralph, insincere, really. Huh. Chris, put the gun down. We will answer this question. We don't need the gun. You don't need to be pointing the gun at us. We will answer this question. I don't know. I mean, you actually don't understand. I mean, Ralph. I mean, to be candid,
let's just be honest about it. And I think we're wrapping up our final podcast of the season, and it's time to just be honest. We're really just doing it for the money. Carlton and I are paid approximately $9,000 per podcast each, and the longer we talk, beyond 10 minutes, for every minute beyond that, we get another $500.
Yeah, okay.
Which is why we yammer on endlessly and seem so insincere.
I mean, I don't understand you, Ralph. We love this. This is like actually one of the favorite good things we get to do. We enjoy hearing the sound of our own voices.
We do.
Anyway, guys.
And for the record, I think you're very sincere.
Well, thank you, Damon. I think
now,
you're
well,
sincere
are you
too.
crying, Carlton? Oh, that's so sweet.
It's always a good way to end the season on a tear, isn't it? Really?
Oh, jeez.
Oh, Jesus.
Guys, thank you so much for watching the show this season. Hopefully, we haven't frustrated you too much.
If you've listened to the end of this, I hope you have something good to do over the summer.
Yeah, if you've made it this far, vaya con Dios.
All right. Thanks, and we'll see you next year.
Bye, guys.
That concludes our special post-finale podcast. However, the summer fun isn't over yet. We'll periodically be offering up exclusive tidbits, especially as we get closer to Season 3. Starting off, we have a special post-finale interview with Malcolm David Kelly and Harold Perrineau. That'll be coming up in a couple of weeks. And then later in the summer, we'll be joining Damon and Carlton as they come at you from Comic-Con 2006. Finally, don't forget, you can catch the finale again for a limited time. Just go to lost.abc.com.